Clemson football didn't have the season they wanted last year, finishing 8-4 before winning the Gator Bowl to reach 9 wins. If they're going to improve upon that, they're going to need a couple guys to have breakout seasons. Two of them that I think are really critical and I think are going to have big seasons. We're going to talk about in this video. Let's start on offense, where Clemson's biggest problems have been. Really since 2021, the offense hasn't been explosive, hasn't done enough. And I think a big reason for that last season was actually the injury to Antonio Williams. For some reason, doesn't get talked about a lot, but he had ankle injuries, then a toe injury. He eventually only played in 5 games. He finished the year with just 224 receiving yards and just two touchdowns. As a true freshman the year prior, he had 612 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. And Clemson really struggled to replace him more than I think we realized at the time. Tyler Brown, as a true freshman last year, played a kind of a similar role, bouncing between the slot, playing some outside, really having to be the guy that brought speed and sometimes threatened the defense over the top with Antonio Bryant gone. And he did a great job of that. But at times it was only him. He's really the only guy who brought speed and actually got separation. And with Antonio Williams now healthy, and we saw him not even 100%, but we saw him on the field at least in the Gator Bowl, and then on that final drive, he had 2 huge catches. Without him, I don't know that they take that drive to the end zone and win the game. And I think he is really a critical guy for this offense, particularly the passing offense, which has been so bad, to really turn it around. So here's what I'm envisioning. I don't think he's going to have 1,000 yards. Last year, I asked fans on X, will Clemson have 1,000-yard receiver? If so, who? 2/3 of the folks who follow me on X, mostly Clemson fans, said yes. They were confident, and they cited Bo Collins and Adam Randall. Neither were close. I think Antonio Williams will be the closest this year. I have him around 700 yards, so surpassing his 612 from the year before last when he was a freshman. And with the depth in this receiver core, it's going to be tough for anyone to hit 1,000. But if he could give Clemson 700, I think you start getting optimistic. In the slot, you have Brown and Stellato. Last year, they combined for over 900. I think they can do that again between the two of them. So now you've got 1,600 receiving yards right there. Then you bring in Wesco and more. And I don't know which one's going to go off. Right, I like that Wesco was an early enrollee. I think that helps him a lot, but also more very highly rated, unbelievable in camp. All reports are he's looking good. So we'll learn more about him as they get into fall camp. But I think you feel good about one of them giving you maybe 500 yards, kind of a Deion Kane type freshman season. So maybe between the two of them, that's 600 plus yards, and maybe that's even being conservative. Adam Randall, Cole Turner, maybe they can combine. Maybe one of them does a lot more than the other. I don't know which, but maybe that's 500 yards. And then between Hannafin, Noble Johnson, Tink Kelly, walk-ons, maybe there's like another 200 there. But you add all that up, that's 2,900 yards by wide receivers with those fairly conservative estimates. And maybe there's injuries that make that not quite as good. But 2,900 yards by wide receivers would be an 860-yard increase from last year's 2,040. You add on some yards from tight ends. Last year, tight ends and running backs combined for 929 yards for Clemson. If they just get 800 this coming year, and I say a little bit lower number because Shipley was a really good receiving back. So maybe they just get 800, but you combine that with the 2,900 from wide receivers, you're at 3,700 receiving yards. Last year they had 2,969 receiving yards. That ranked them 63rd nationally in passing and receiving yards. Not great. If they can just get to 3,700, that puts them 20th from last year. So it's not unrealistic to see this kind of jump, but I think Antonio Williams is the key to that. You get Antonio Williams and Tyler Brown on the field together. You got some speed, maybe one of the freshmen, maybe Cole Turner, maybe Adam Randall could be that other guy. And suddenly your wide receiver core is looking a lot better. So I think Antonio Williams is a guy who can break out. I think he's a guy that really needs to break out. All right. Before we flip it over to the defense, just want to remind you, please like this video and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the football season starts. We're pushing 900 already. So appreciate everyone who has subscribed. Don't forget to do that. All right, let's talk defense. And there's one guy I feel really strongly about Obviously there's a lot of really good players on this defense. Peter Woods is a star. He'll bounce between defensive end and defensive tackle, but he was great last year. Another great year is not a breakout. A guy who's a big name who didn't have that big of a season last year is Barrett Carter. He entered the season with so much hype, and the defense and the linebackers, especially last year, entered with a ton of hype. PFF had them coming into last year as the top linebacker group, with Barrett Carter as the top linebacker in all of college football. He was picked the number one 2024 NFL draft prospect before the year started. His sophomore year, he was excellent. He had an 81.4 PFF grade. But last year as a junior, that dropped nearly 11 points to 70.6. Barrett Carter had 2 fewer sacks, 1 fewer interception as a junior than he did the year prior as a sophomore. But I think what stands out to me and probably to most fans is how the year started. He didn't have his best game by any stretch. In the opener against Duke, most notably Riley Leonard, their quarterback, then now Notre Dame's quarterback, he broke a tackle on Barrett Carter where he really should have been, stopped for no gain or even a loss. And he turned it into a long touchdown that really swung the game in Duke's favor. And after the game, Barrett Carter acknowledged that, he really wasn't in good enough game shape. And I think, this is my speculation, but I feel all that hype he had, all the hype the defense and the linebacker core had, they say don't read your press clippings. Maybe he did. And now is a senior year, seeing what his teammate Jeremiah Trotter did, getting picked in the NFL draft by his hometown Philadelphia Eagles. It's Barrett Carter's turn, right? So an off season of kind of licking your chops after the team had a disappointing year, after he, by his lofty standards at least, had what I would imagine he feels is a disappointing year. I really think Barrett Carter breaks out. I think it's absolutely critical he breaks out now that Jeremiah Trotter's off, like I said, to the Eagles. So Barrett Carter is the leader on that defense and certainly in the linebacker room. I think it's imperative he has a big year, and I think he does it. I think he has a huge year, and I think Clemson's defense can avoid a drop-off in large part because despite Trotter leaving, I think Barrett Carter ups his game and sort of fills that void. So those are my 2 big breakout candidates. I think they're both sort of must-haves, right? Clemson really needs those guys to break out, and I believe they will. Jump in the comments, leave your thoughts on those 2, Antonio Williams and Barrett Carter, as well as who you think could break out. As always, thanks for watching, and go Tigers. If you enjoyed this video, you can help the channel grow in a couple ways. Like the video and leave a comment. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you're a pet owner and you live in the upstate, I want to tell you about Ready Vets. Ready Vets offers immediate walk-in care when your pet can't wait. Owned by 2 Clemson alumni, they're open 7 days per week until 10 p.m. They're located in Taylor's, just over 10 miles from downtown Greenville and the Woodruff Road shopping district. Save them in your phone in case you ever need them.